Hello there, I'm Darren Mooney, and I'm teaming up with the Escapist to launch a video series, In the Frame. The plan is to take a look at some of the pop culture outside of gaming and to expand the site's coverage of film, television, and other media. If you don't know me, and there's no reason why you should, I'm a blogger, a film critic, a journalist, a podcaster, a writer, and a midnight toker. I'm at least 4 of those things. I've written on my personal blog for over a decade now. I do reviews and film news coverage on Irish National Radio. I've written books from American publishers about the cultural context of The X-Files and the films of Christopher Nolan. And I've appeared on Turkish television.
Hi Darren. So, you think that Christopher Nolan is one of the defining directors of our century?
I have no idea how that happened either. I also co-host the Escapist Movie Podcast with the generous Jack Packard and the brilliant Bob Chipman, so you might have heard my voice there. I'm a film and television buff. As you can probably tell from my heavy and distinctive Irish brogue, I grew up on a steady diet of American pop culture. Some of my earliest memories are of my grandparents sharing VHSs of old Hammer horrors, Wes Craven and John Carpenter films when I was far, far, far too young to be watching them. And I'm thankful every day for that. My favourite movies include standard picks like the first 2 Godfather movies, quirkier fare like The Big Lebowski, cult films like Brazil, and sheer, unadulterated B-movie joy like Demolition Man. On television, I grew up with the Star Trek shows of the 90s. I'm one of those annoying hipsters whose favourite spin-off is Deep Space Nine.
Oh, bollocks!
I also think Miami Vice doesn't get enough credit for changing the language of contemporary television. But that's a discussion for another time. I think pop culture is both a window and a mirror. It provides a snapshot of a moment, and it also speaks to deeper truths. I think you can tell a lot about what's bubbling away in the collective unconscious by examining the film and television that we produce and consume. It isn't only the stories that we tell, but how we tell them, and where we place the emphasis within them. A lot of modern pop culture is built on recycled concepts, characters, and tropes. So the way in which we use those elements says a lot, not just about them, but about us. What we want to do within the frame is to talk about films and television. A lot of the coverage will be shaped by what people are talking about. It could be new releases, the latest movie news, anniversaries, or even nostalgic debates sparked these most unusual of times. In the Frame won't be a straightforward review show. There are enough of those. But I'm hoping that it will be something more interesting. As a critic, I'm a firm believer in the idea of the big middle, the bell curve. It takes a lot for me to hate something. And it also takes a lot for me to love something. Generally speaking, I prefer to be positive rather than negative. I'm much more excited to talk about things that interest me, rather than things that infuriate me. Life is too short, and there's too much good stuff out there to fixate on hate and anger and frustration. This doesn't mean I give easy passes. My reviewing style has been likened to the bedside manner of a doctor politely but firmly telling you that it is in fact as bad as it looks. However, it does mean I'm less likely to dwell and fixate on the negatives. If why a thing doesn't work is particularly interesting, then we'll talk about that. However, if a particular aspect of a much maligned or even divisive piece of pop culture does work, then we'll probably hone in specifically on that element for our discussion. We don't have a full dance card planned for the coming weeks yet, but you can probably take a guess at what we might end up talking about. Tenet, The New Mutants, Mulan, the second season of The Boys, and, if I can sneak it past my editors, the frankly inappropriate coked-up horniness of Flash Gordon in its 40th anniversary year. I mean, really, have you rewatched that movie lately?
And use your fingers too this time.
I do hope you'll join us, and I hope we'll find some interesting stuff to talk about. I'm Darren Mooney, and I look forward to talking about what's in the frame.